Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Midgar Press. This is going to be episode 2 of the Let's Play series, and this is essentially a recap of some one-shots that I've done. So, we have and I'm going to use the Adventures book to kind of help push you all along to see what I was seeing as they were playing as we continue. Um, so for the second one shot, I had ran Riddermound again. Now, I ran it a second time because I still didn't feel all the way comfortable with it. It was very simple. I mean, honestly, for a one shot, it is one of the best ones I've seen. And that's across other TTRPGs because again, Free League just gives you basically everything that makes the game fun and simple for the GM. I mean, it's incredible the level of work that they put into it to make it easy for us to run and fun at the same time. So let's jump into it. Let's see. Riddermound, 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 where are you? Riddermound. Oh, Riddermound, there we are. So I'm not going to go through and read all the stuff again. You can pause to read. Go ahead, click. Okay, unclick. So this is our map. This is what we'll be dealing with. I actually have my booklet right here. So I will leave it here on the map. That way you all can see specifically what I'm referencing. So Riddermound. There we are. Okay. So we open up where the players had crossed through the Iron Forest from Outskirt to Riddermound because they were in search of treasure. There is a long, mysterious background lore established with Riddermound saying that it is a spot of hidden treasures, ancient treasures at that, but also from a bygone era, essentially from the draconic and demonic era that was prior to what's going on now. If you watched episode 1, obviously you know that there's some fun stuff in there. And this random events table here on the left side of the screen can tell you that there's some fun stuff in there. There's goblin attacks, massacred goblin, giant spider, there's the white itself, there's restless spirits, a draconic vision, and nothing happens. So the players, as they had exited the Iron Forest, they came into a clearing with multiple mounds. Upon inspecting the mounds, they noticed that there was only one that had these tall standing stones around it. One of the players was asking, hey, is there any way that I can see if this is the one we're supposed to go to? And I was like, yeah, sure. Roll me a myth and legends. So with the myth and legends, it basically tells them, the significance of certain sites. And they would know that the mound that they are staring at, that they are coming upon, is the Riddermound. It is the one that they are looking for because the standing stones themselves help to designate a type of significance, like importance of the person who's buried there. So the players walking along. Several of them tried to do a spot hidden just because they wanted to make sure like nothing was around, nothing was gonna to attack them. And most of them failed except for one. I don't remember which player it was. I'm gonna have to start taking more notes as we're doing the one shot so that way I can recap these for you all perfectly. But the player had noticed a pungent smell in the air of rotten vegetables. And that kind of gave way to them. They're like, wait, there's rotten vegetables around here? Like, why would there be rotten vegetables? So they did a little further looking and they noticed that there were very, not super noticeable, but they could tell like there were footprints on this specific mound leading to the top. So they all went to the top and they noticed that the stone slab that is sitting at the top of this mound is slightly ajar. So the players push it further open, and one of them lights a torch, drops it down, and it goes about 5 meters. It is pitch dark in there, except for the light that they have just thrown into, or the torch that they've just thrown into, well, not really thrown, but dropped. So they climb down a ladder to get to the bottom. They all successfully make it. There was no issues. As they are looking around this room, they all roll terrible to notice the vampiric spiders. No, the vampiric bats that are within this room. So a couple of them go straight towards the door because there's two statues right here and right here next to these double oak doors. And they were instantly just drawn to it because it's like that's the only spot to go to in this room, so on and so forth. So as they go up, I tell them that they start to hear this chittering sound. And they're like, chittering? What's making that sound? And this is a packed earthen room. Like the floor is packed dirt, the walls itself are packed dirt. They've looked up and it's just all packed earth. And it's at that moment I have them roll initiative because that's when the vampiric bats start to come down upon them. And they do well. There's only one magic caster at the moment. They dealt with the vampiric bats swiftly. Now, they took a second to decide what they wanted to do, and they did decide to open the door. Now, I rolled on the table and nothing happened, unfortunately. So they were presented with which way do they want to go? Do they want to go left to the west, or do they want to go right to the east, or do they want to go north further into this room to inspect it? They decided not to. They decided to go east. They turned right and started to go east. Now, just for giggles, I had rolled on the table again, and this time they had seen the restless spirits. At least one person did. Basically, at the very beginning of the hallway, I narrated that they see down this hallway, like right here, they see a translucent figure that seems to be gliding across the floor. And as they're rubbing their eyes and looking harder, trying to see better, it looks as if the translucent figure was calling to them, and then ushering into that room. I did have them roll on the fear table. Or first they had to roll their willpower. They succeeded, unfortunately for me, but they decided to continue down the hallway to see what was further down there. And number 6 is the family crypt. So within the family crypt, because if you remember last time, the first party that I ran this for, they went left. They went west. They went into the servants' crypt. They found grub and they went in, to the ladies' hall, and so on and so forth. This time, the party went to the right. So they went to the right. As they enter into number 6, the family crypt, it says a dark chamber with a packed dirt floor. 7 simple sarcophagi of stone are lined up along the walls. Several of them are open, and 2 skeletons have been thrown onto the ground. So that's not cool. That's, somebody's vandalized this whole area. But I have them roll, if I remember correctly, an awareness. And everybody fails except for one. And hidden in this room, which it doesn't. I did this one a little different because I still, even though they went right, I wanted them to encounter Grub the Goblin. So I changed it up a little bit because Grub is supposed to be in room 5, not room 6, room 5. So on the awareness table, or when they rolled their awareness, they succeeded. Only one did. And basically, as they're inspecting this room, when they got to right here, I told them that they basically, like, they stepped on a rock or something like that, and it startled the goblin. So the goblin stood up, complete fear. Oh my God, we got to get out of here, and bolts. And the goblin doesn't run this way like you would think they would. No, they ran this way, further into the dungeon. So the players, they instantly stop what they're doing as far as searching, and they book after the spider. Now, I rolled on the table, and they got a giant spider. So the way that I played this, excuse me, I got the hiccups. The way that I played this was that when my players, when they turned this corner, they were instantly met upon with a giant spider. And a giant spider is, in this game, is a well-fed sized cow. Like, it's huge. So the goblin gets away. They are now in front of this massive 8 eyeballs, 8 legs monstrosity, and we roll initiative. It takes them two rounds, but they successfully defeat the monster. A couple of them took a good couple hits, but they continue on. They keep going. So this door right here is supposed to be locked, but because I changed it up a little with Grub, I said that the door was open. And as they started running down the hall, that's when they heard a door closing, basically. So the players, they finished up with the it's not letting me highlight. There we go. They finished up with the giant spider right here, kept on going, and they entered into the ladies' hall. Now, this door over here was locked. This door right here is locked and barricaded. There's nowhere for this goblin to go except for this way. And this is where the real fun happened. Half the players decided to go inspect the door. Half the players decided to inspect the lady that is right here at the table. And that's the best part. So, and I can't stress about the type of players that play at my game. They're chaotic. They just are. That's just what they do. They enjoy the mayhem. They enjoy having fun. And I enjoy it. It just makes for a interesting game, like beyond belief. Like, give me the regular games where people just role play a little bit and do their thing. Cool, fantastic. But definitely give me these games because these players were fantastic. And I'll tell you why. The players light a torch, and essentially, because there's only one way in to this room, from what they can tell, they put the torch like at the bottom of the door and start to burn it. What? They're like, we're gonna smoke this goblin out. Now, if I'm reading the book correctly, the door to the north is an iron-fitted oak door to the tomb of the Dragon Knight. It's an oak door. It will burn. And that's exactly what they wanted to do, was they wanted to smoke the goblin out. So half the party is doing that. They're burning it, and they're wanting the goblin to come out. The other half are inspecting the lady. And upon doing this, because as you know from the last episode, if they touch the armor, if they touch the weapon, if they touch the lady itself or herself, she comes alive. And that's what happens. The one of the players touch the weapon that is at the hilt, or not the hilt, but the belt of the lady. And of course, the lady grabs upon their arm, clamps on it. The body starts to rise just a smidge, but from it, a translucent figure with this wide mouth, black eyes, translucent hands snapped upon the player's arm, shouting in a language that's ancient, and they're like from what they can understand, even comprehend. So, two different scenarios are going on, okay? Now, one thing I do want to say, one of the players from the first game, she brought her character into this game. Now, she did have the armor of the Dragon Knight, and she had the Fiend Carver from the lady. I'm perfectly fine with that. As long as we're not metagaming or anything like that, you can use the same character in this one shot. That's fine. In fact, she used that same character multiple times in multiple one shots that I ran for Dragonbane. And I'm perfectly fine with it. That player character did end up dying, and we'll get to that story at another point. But, I was perfectly okay with it. So we'll talk that scenario out real quick, where the lady starts to rise. Now, as I roll initiative, I'm like, all right, what's going on? Normal damage does not do anything to her because she is a ghost, and ghosts are resistant to normal damage. They only take damage by magic and magic items, or magic weapons, really. So the Fiend Crusher, the weapon that the player had, dealt actual damage to it. But the others, they're like, yeah, swing through it, no damage. And I tell them, I was like, you swing your sword through this ghostly translucent figure, and it almost feels like you're not creating contact with anything. It's almost as if you're cutting straight through it, but hitting no resistance at all. I don't outright tell the players that it does no damage. I let them figure that out for themselves. I make sure to describe it in a way that they can understand. Because this is a game. This is a puzzle. This is a riddle. You have to I can't give you all the answers. You have to figure it out for yourself. So, and that's what I do. I try to explain it in a way that they're like, oh, damn. So they do a little bit of damage from using the Fiend Crusher, but as that fight is about halfway done, the party that is at the door, burning the door down, I tell them that they start to hear this commotion on the other side. A stone slab of some type is moved and falls. And it's at that moment they start to hear this clanking sound, heavy footsteps coming to the door. And they're like, okay, cool, the goblin's coming. The goblin's coming. Yeah, the goblin's coming, all right. Because the door opens. And again, this door is on fire, okay? The door opens and they see this massive, like 7-foot figure of a man or of a person, heavily plated armor, jagged ridges, spikes coming off of it. This helmet that this person is wearing is very rigid and it has these two horns that come out the sides and kind of poke upwards like a bull. And they're like, oh my God, who is that? And it's at that moment that the Dragon Knight holds the goblin by the neck, and the goblin's facing them. So it's kind of got like a hand around the neck, holding it in the air. And I tell you, as a GM, you need to do this because I don't have any on me. But this is a mechanical pencil, but I took a regular pencil, wooden pencil, and as I was describing the scene, I snapped it in half. And hearing that crunch sound as I was describing it, ooh, the players were like, oh. So the goblin that they were chasing just had his neck crushed. And so he throws him to the side. He reaches down for his weapon, and I tell them to roll initiative. So everybody is now in initiative. Half the party is fighting the lady, half the party is fighting the Dragon Knight, the white. So within a couple rounds, the white ends up, or the lady, the ghost, ends up being taken care of, and then now everybody is fighting the Dragon Knight. And several hard interactions with both the ghost, the lady, and the white, the Dragon Knight, deal damage to the party. Nothing enough to outright kill them, but they were severely hurt. Nobody went down, but they were severely hurt. So in the end, they took care of the Dragon Knight and the lady. They decided to barricade this room and take a short rest, which is 15 minutes. It's not that long. Now, one of the things that they don't realize, okay, is that the white recovers after a short rest, which again is a stretch, 15 minutes. So let me hang on, let me read it right here. Yeah. It says the white is protected by ancient draconic magic inside the mound. It takes damage as per the rules, but if defeated inside the gate in the antechamber, it will rise again in room 9 within one shift. So if they take care of the white, like because it is on the roll table, it's right here. Okay. It is on the roll table. If it is defeated anywhere, because it could potentially encounter the party at any place on this map, it says in the book that it will rise again in room 9 if they decide to take a shift. Now, there's also right here where the white has been disturbed by the character and it attacks. As it is particularly immaterial, it can pass through closed portalices and doors, but it requires an action to do so. The white retreats to its tomb if it loses half of its HP and fully recovers there in one stretch of time. Now, I read this that if a stretch happens, it can come back with full HP. And it does. It does. It comes back to room 9. So you all would be shocked if I tell you all that after this fight where they recovered, they took a shift or they took a stretch. I rolled on the random table and I rolled a 4. So as they're all sitting there, stretching, resting, just relaxing, I tell them that they start to hear this sound of heavy footsteps with clinking metal. And they're all like, what? What? And out through the door of the sarcophagi where the Dragon Knight was buried, basically, walks the Dragon Knight again. They were like, oh shit. So that whole thing goes down again. Again, it's another combat situation. And they this time they have 2 magical weapons and they kind of have an idea of how to take it down. So they attack it head on, all the players, and they do well. They do really well. So this time though, after they defeat the Dragon Knight, they decide, no, we're getting out of here. They don't even go into the sarcophagus to inspect the room. They're like, no, we're just getting out of here. So they go back through this tunnel. They go back through the family crypt. They go back through this tunnel. They go into the antechamber and they book it. I rolled on it. This is the part that gets me sometimes because this is a game of luck for both the party and for the GM. The dice can taketh, the dice can giveth, and the dice did not giveth to me because I rolled on the random events table every single time and it did not, it kept coming up, nothing happens as they were trying to escape. And I was kind of sad because I was hoping something else would happen, but nothing else happened. So they exited the Riddermound. They actually closed these doors on their way out. Once they got to the antechamber, they climbed up the ladder. once they got outside of the crypt of the Riddermound, they pushed the stone slab back into place and they booked it to town. So at that moment, I had just left it as it is. We had played for 3 hours, 3.5 hours. So I didn't want to give them anything more between the travel from Riddermound to Outskirt. So I just left it as it was. They successfully went down into Riddermound and they escaped with their lives. Oh, it was a lot. It was a blast. It was fun. Seeing the look on my players' faces when the door opened because it was on fire and this dragon knight is just there and then they go to rest, but then it comes back. Oh, just fantastic. It was fantastic. It was really great. So yeah, that kind of summarizes or recaps what happened the second time I ran Riddermount. Um, I did run I did run Riddermound a third time, and that was online through Discord for some of my friends. That one was a lot more interesting. I'll get to that in a couple episodes, but thank you all for listening in. This was again, Riddermound is one of my favorite adventures to run. I have come to learn because it's so simple. It's so much fun. But yeah, thank you again for listening in. I hope you all listening to Dragonbane, me talking about it, me recapping the one shot, inspires you to play in a game of Dragonbane. I promise you, you will not. Um, I promise you will enjoy it. I promise. If you have played TTRPGs before, this is such a simple system. Even if you haven't played TTRPGs before, this is a very simple system. It's very easy to learn. And I encourage you to want to learn it. So, my friends, family, and fellow nerds, thank you for listening and live on and game on.